the 25th of October, and we are going to start a Halloween themed quilt. That's right. And obviously you can see me in a different direction. This is actually my filming direction when I film for you guys. So this whole entire live stream is going to be recorded as if I was making a video, editing, and so on and so forth. So it's going to be less chit chat with you guys out there in the audience, unless there's questions. Obviously, Scott will read them to me, but I'm going to film with you like I do when I make videos. You're going to be directly on the sewing machine. You're going to be directly on the cutting table, and then on me. So there'll be some camera moving, and I'll warn you before I move the camera, because all we're doing is turning it. And that's about it. I just wanted to warn you guys that. So what we're going to be making is a Halloween themed quilt. And I, as you saw in the thumbnail of this video, am using this layer cake right here. It is called Goose Tales by J. Wecker Fritch. I don't even know how to say that properly. But it's Riley Blake Designs.
Where? J. Where?
J.
Wecker Frisch. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I'm using. This is what's in the layer cake. I'm not sure if you guys are even seeing this because I don't know how close I need to be to the camera.
A little back, actually. Now they can see all of it. Here. What do we want to see?
I was just showing them what's in it. You guys are going to see what's in it in a second fully. Okay. And I, for my 3 yards of fabric, so 1 layer cake and 3 yards of fabric, for my 3 yards, I am doing this right here, which looks perfect because I don't have much to choose from when it comes to holiday themed fabric because I don't really ever make these. But I promise you guys I would. I know it's a little last minute and there's only a couple days to Halloween, but we shall get this done. And if you don't catch up, that's okay because you don't have to make this with Halloween themed fabric. You can make it with whatever. So 3 yards of fabric and a layer cake is what we need. I'm going to see who's here real quick, and then we're just going to get started because this is going to be a long process, and it might be kind of confusing for some people. All right, we got Brenda here. Beverly is here from North Carolina. Judy is here. Christina's here from Liverpool. We got Nancy here. Where did that just jumped on me? Stop. Don't do that. Nancy is here. We got Emily is here. Kathy's from Texas. Kathleen is here. We have Country Gal here from Maribel, Wisconsin. Melissa is here. Jacqueline is here. KV411 is here from North Illinois, I think is what that's supposed to be. Lindarella is here from Maine. All right, guys. So the camera, again, we're going to be turning it for the cutting. And for the sewing, it's just going to literally move sideways. But I'm going to try to do this whole thing so that nobody gets confused as if I was recording it. It's going to be from my view so that you don't lose what you're doing if you're following along this video either now or in the future. And just know that I sew fast and do everything fast. Yeah, so we got Joanne here from Kansas, SL Frost from New Mexico. It's Louise. Nancy is here and Auntie Ann. All right, so I'm going to pass this off to Scott. If you guys have questions throughout this process, just ask them to Scott. He will read them out to me and I will answer them to the best of my ability. So let's get started and I'm going to put you down on the cutting mat. The camera is now moving right down to here. Here we go. We're going to start out by 3 yards of fabric. We're going to start by cutting this up. So go ahead and grab your 3 yards and a rotary cutter and a ruler. And we're going to start by, I don't know how much in the camera you guys are going to see, but we're going to do our best here. I'm going to square off this side over here so that it's nice and straight. So I'm just going to go backwards real quick so that I can get this. Where's that bottom piece? Right there. I'm going to come right here and give myself a nice clean line to start from. Just like that. And now I'm going to align this now on my cutting mat because I'm going to use my cutting mat as my lines. I'm going to line the fold up of my fabric on a line. And we're going to come over here. And I have a feeling that this layer cake, and I'm going to show you guys, even while it's in the package, that some layer cakes are point to point and some of them are in the ditch. So some of them are in the mountain and some of them are in the valley. This one looks like they are measured from on the top of the mountain. So from the top of the mountain to the top of the mountain is 10 inches. So that'll be fine. My actual cuts here will be 10 inches. So we're going to go ahead and cut 21 10-inch squares. So we need to cut off 6 10-inch strips. For some strange reason, I could not put the math in my head. But you guys know I suck at math. All right. So here's one 10-inch strip. I'm going to come over here to 20 now and cut my second 10-inch strip right there on the 20. Just like that. There's 2. We're going to unfold and cut more. And don't toss anything once we cut that last one for because we only need technically 5 for 20. We need a 6th one for the 21st piece because, unfortunately, we have to cut an extra one. But those leftover pieces from that are going to go towards the border. So, all right. Let's get this. Oh, I got to straighten this side up again. It tends to do that when I'm cutting off of these little bolts. It gets a little wonky, but I try to keep it as straight as I can. Just like that. Come over to 10 again and make a cut. So again, we're cutting out 21 10-inch squares from 6 strips that are 10-inch. This is why I said 3 yards of fabric, because the rest of it's going to go towards the border. But I did it, the math, sort of, in my head. My sloppy math skills. Trust me, guys, it'll all work out.
It's okay, honey. We're not all good at math.
How many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, need 2 more. So we're going to cut right here at this. This will be the 5th strip. And then I need to cut one more. And then we're going to subcut, which is more cutting. Oh, look at that. It landed right here. Perfect. So I don't have to unroll it much. All right, so there's that. So for now, I'm just going to set that aside, and we're going to go ahead and open these up. And I only need 1 10-inch from this one. I'm just going to go ahead and do my 1 for now, right here. So I'm going to straighten this up, cutting the selvage off. And yes, I'm cutting backwards because I'm using my right hand only rotary cutter. We're going to come over here to the 10-inch mark, and I'm going to just cut my first square, and then I'll toss this aside, and the rest of them we can stack.
I know if you ever pre-wash your material.
Nope. I like the crinkly look after they're washed. You don't get that when you're pre-washing everything. All right, so here's my first 10-inch square. The rest of it, I'm just going to cut it all in bulk. I'm just going to stack it all up. And I probably should have pressed, but I'm not gonna. Stack them up. All right, let's cut all these. So I'm gonna again line it up on the line. I'm gonna put my selvage over where you cannot see and cut that off. And then we're gonna cut 2 chimes. I do have some pre-washed fabric in here, though, because sometimes I get it from garage sales and stuff like that, and then I definitely need to pre-wash it because it sometimes has a smell to it. All right, so there's all those. And now, since I did not cut that off, I'm just going to turn the whole thing around. I'm going to line it up right here, and I'm going to cut off my fold, and then this can just be my scrap, and I'll clean it up later. So I'm going to cut the fold off right here. I try not to waste too much fabric. You guys know I'm anti-waste, as best as I can anti-waste. All right, and we're going to come over to the 20 and cut these here. If I can line it up, there we go. So this, since I didn't press it, these can go in my strings later, but I'll flatten them out. All right, so there's those. Now let's line this last 2 strips up. Again, we're cutting 21 10-inch squares from our yardage. That's all we need. So that first piece, I cut just the one and then set it aside because it's going to go towards the borders. All right, so I'm going to line this up again, cut off my selvage, which is not in the screen. Cut them all up at the same time. Come over to 10, make my first cut, and then I'm going to turn it so that I can put that over there. We're going to turn it around. I'm going to cut it off at the fold. Everything's nice and square. Here. And remember, this live stream will be available for replay after the fact, too. So if you are trying to sew along with, you can watch this anytime now. All right. So here are all 21 of my 10-inch squares that I cut. Now the next step is to open up the layer cake. Oh, this is the fun part. I'm hoping that these fabrics look good. According to the back picture, they look good, but yeah, you never know. All right, tear it right there. Pull that away. See, according to this chart back here, they match, but you know, you never know till you open it up. All right. Oh yeah, look at that. They'll match. Oh, and it's gonna suck because these have such big prints, but I didn't expect them to be that big. Look at that. See, I wish I would have opened it earlier. Then I would have seen how big these are. But we're going to cut it up anyway. Look at that.
What's the one with the lady there? Is that a witch?
Oh, I love it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Here was an old woman who rode on a broom.
It's got
That's funny.
It's got little mice. I'm going to be pulling these out anyway.
What's the
We got
writing?
little glasses.
I'm going to read while you show them.
Let's see, what's on this one? The end. That's funny. This is what I get for not opening it first. But, oh, that's okay that we're chopping it up. No big deal. That's what this fabric is all about.
What's this say?
This one says, all live together in a little crooked house. That one. Let's see, what else? Oh, there's words.
More that one. Word.
Another witch.
Yep. There was an old woman who rode on a broom.
All right. Anyways, now that we've had our fun looking at what they all say, we're going to take these and we are going to take...
Emily says she just bought a bunch of those mice. The mice.
Oh, how cute. I'm going to set the layer cake aside, the half a layer cake that I just cut. And we're going to pair one of our cut pieces with 2 of the layer cake pieces. Okay, so 3 in total. 1 of your layer cake, the one that you made yourself, and 2 from the layer cake. And we're going to set the rest aside because we're just going to grab them in sets of 3. So I'm going to reline these back up. And this is the part that may confuse you guys. Like I said, this might be a confusing pattern. It might not be a confusing pattern for some people. But I'm going to make it as painless as possible. So they are lined up. The next thing you need is a rotating rotating mat. If you do not have a rotating mat, then you're going to go with my method of a portable June Taylor mat. That is my little iron and cut. It's kind of warped, as you can see, but we're going to use it anyway because I need to be able to turn this, okay? So what we're going to do is stick our 3 pieces on here, just like this. And the block that we're making, let me show you guys that before I totally get ahead of myself. This is what we're making. This is what sets of 3 make, just like this. That is what we're making. So no templates needed, no nothing. This is all rotary cut. Okay? So these are the blocks that we're essentially making.
I like the wonkiness in them.
All right. Here we go. We're going to grab a ruler. Any ruler will work. Thank you. Any rotary. Yes, any rotary cutter will work. Any ruler will work that covers your 10-inch squares. What we're going to do is, here we go. Ready for the cutting? We're going to take the 2-inch line on one end, and we're going to take the 1-inch line on another end. So I'm going to line the 2-inch right up here in this corner and my 1-inch right down here in this corner, just like this. And if it's not 100% perfect, don't beat yourself up because it's not going to be. It's wonky. All right, and now what we're going to do, and I'm going to switch rotary cutters for this one, is I'm going to hold my ruler in place from where we're standing, just like this. My 1 inch is on the bottom, my 2 inches on the top. And we are going to make a cut. Pick up your ruler, and you can see there's my first cut. Now, this is where the rotating mat comes in handy. We're going to turn this whole thing around from this side now, and we're going to do that same thing. 2 inch at the top, 1 inch at the bottom. Just like this. Again, if it's not perfect, don't worry about it. As long as that 1 inch touches at the bottom and the 2 inch touches at the top. Make your cut. So now you're going to have a piece, and this mat makes a crinkling sound because it's kind of like dried out, but it's probably going to ruin my blade. But that's okay. So those pieces are cut, and you'll have a wonky piece that kind of looks like this. Now we're going to turn it. 1 turn, not all the way around, just 1 turn. We're going to come down here to this bottom corner. We're going to go up here, 2 inches at the top, 1 inch at the bottom. So line up 2 inches at the bottom. 1 inch at the bottom and 2 inches at the top. Line it up just like this. And make a cut. Pull it away, just like that. Okay? Turn it all the way around. Like this. And we're going to do the same thing. 2 inches at the top, 1 inch at the bottom. Again, if it's not perfect, don't worry about it. I definitely have an arc I'm trying to get over, so I'm bending my ruler as I go. But unfortunately, this is the only mat I have that can be used as a rotating mat. Okay, so now we have that. Now, turn it forward facing you again, just like this. So now you're looking at it as if we just cut it all apart. Okay? Now, we're going to do this again from this side. Now, we're not working with any of these. These are done. We're now working with the center. We're going to take our ruler again. We're going to go 2 inches at the top, 1 inch at the bottom. So 2 top, 1 bottom. Just like this. Make a cut. Pull it away. Turn the whole thing around. Just like this. 2 inches at the top, 1 inch at the bottom. Just like this. Just like this. So now, oops, you should have a piece that looks like that. Now we're just going to make 1 turn. We're not going all the way around. Just 1 turn, just like this. We're going to go 1 inch at the bottom, 2 inches up. And I'm going to do this more than once so that you guys get a better picture, of how this is done. And we're going to turn the whole thing all the way around again. It's a lot of turning for this cutting, but I'm telling you guys that the results are beautiful. All right, so 1 at the bottom, 2 at the top. Just like this. And that is the last of the cuts. So now you should have a funkiness that looks like this. But if you were to have stuck everything back together again, just like this, there is my 10-inch square again, like as if I never did anything. Okay? Now this project will have just a tiny bit of waste. I'm going to tell you that in advance.
Mary wants to know if this is an original pattern, an original Tiffy.
This is an original Tiffy stuck in her brain, and I can't get it out until I make it.
Do you make your own name for it?
I haven't made a name for it. It's just a Halloween-themed quilt. So you guys could probably help me name it if you want. I like when you guys do. So now we're going to take this over, these pieces over to the sewing machine. Now I can't take this whole entire mat to the sewing machine, but what we're going to do before we do that is I'm going to take this one piece and I'm going to stick it in the bottom. So now I have my center. Then I'm going to take these 2 pieces and stick them on the bottom. So I'm just bringing the bottom piece to the top, essentially, like this. And this is how we're going to mess up our blocks. So now that's all I needed to do was just swap out those middles. The outside, so you can see all 3 colors are getting a chance to be visible. Because this is being done, the whole entire thing is being done in sets of 3. So you can see the bottom is going to be the middle outside, and that will be that. This one will be this, going with that, and so on and so forth. So we're going to take this over to the sewing machine, and we're going to start with these guys right here, the one that's to the bottom of me, and this one, and then the next ones we're going to attach is this top one. But we're going to be chain piecing this because you guys know I'm all about getting it done efficiently, so chain piecing is the best way to go. So what we're going to do is I'm going to turn the camera, and we're going to face the sewing machine, and then I'll bring the blocks up to the table so that you can see.
Tony says to call it 1-2.
1-2. That's actually a funny name.
I don't know.
The 1-2 pattern.
I don't know. What's the? You look through the kaleidoscope and things look all weird. It needs some sort of something like that, or shattered mirror. Well, it looks the way it's all wonky.
Shattered is good. I like the word shattered.
Shattered.
Name the pattern shattered. You guys will see. All right, so we're going to come over here to the sewing machine. I know you can see where I'm sewing, so that's a good thing. I just want you to be able to see the table. All right, now that the camera is in a spot. 1/4-inch seam. My guide is already here, but if you don't need a guide, just make sure you follow your thing. We're going to bring that bottom 2 pieces, just like this. So those were those pieces from the middle exactly, and then the one directly below it.
Country gal says she likes the shattered mirror too.
Mm-hmm.
Just shattered. If you're
Shattered. I like shattered just by itself. All right, so we're going to take this. We're going to turn it. That way we don't, like think we're getting anything out of order. And we're going to take the top one. Oops, just the top one, Tiffy. And we're going to take this piece that was from the bottom. And we're going to essentially just sew this whole thing back together. Except there's going to be a little trick to it because now they all are a slight angle. So with slight angles, we need to also slightly angle where our piece goes. We can't just put it directly on exactly edge to edge, because if we open it up, then it's going to have a lip right here. It's going to be 1/8 of an inch shorter. So what we're going to do is lift it up just ever so slightly, about 1/8 of an inch. So it's just barely sticking up here. Because
it says shattered pumpkin.
That's a good one too.
Or smashed pumpkins. Maybe.
Smashing pumpkins.
Yeah, like the band.
We'll get to it, guys, and I'll rename the video, obviously. Right now, I'm just showing you guys how to do this. All right, so now, let me stick this upside down so that you guys can see. See how I have it about 1/8 of an inch above? Not 1/4 inch, because it's not fully a 45-degree angle. This is like half of that 45-degree angle. So we don't need to go fully with our piece right here. We just need to go half, like we would without a 45. If that makes any sense to you, like when we're sewing diamonds, it has to go up about, 1/4 of an inch above. This only needs to go about 1/8 of an inch. So we're going to stick it under, and we're going to sew it on. And I'm going to leave that one there. I'm going to grab that next one, and this next one. I'm going to repeat the process. So I'm going to go right sides together, but I'm going to go up about 1/8 of an inch. It doesn't have to be much, just like 1/8 of an inch. And we're going to sew it on through. Next one. Up just like 1/8 of an inch. Really doesn't have to be much. We're going to be trimming everything as we go, so don't worry about it. I'm going to break these, and in the same order that I sewed them, I'm going to press them open. Everything's going to get trimmed. Don't worry about it. There's a little bit of waste with this quilt. See, you can see now it's off completely, but we're going to be trimming that straight. So I'm going to take these, and they were going to go back into the same position they were in, and we're going to grab, not yet. I'm going to grab that piece that was above it. I'm going to do that same exact thing. So I'm just going to turn it, let it on, slightly up, sew it through. It probably works just the same if you weren't to slightly up, but the curve comes from it being trimmed as we go. All right, so all 3 of these now, just slightly, literally slightly up. We're going to trim. I'm just going to finger press them back. Everything gets finger pressed away from the center. It makes it easier. Just like this, and just like this. And now we're going to go back to the cutting, except we're going to be now trimming a nice straight line between these 2 pieces. So let's go over, and I'm moving the camera. So we're going to go, I'm going to be trimming over here on this side right there. So we're going to take our pieces. I'm going to start with my bottom one so that I can just put it right back. Even though it's just finger press, I'm going to actually cut from here. I'm putting my ruler right here on this top piece, nice and straight, and then putting it to the bottom of the piece itself. So right here at this corner. So there's going to be trimming in between every single block. And this is where that curve is going to come in. So I'm just barely cutting off those little tiny ends. I'm going to turn the whole thing. Again, I'm going to line it up with the top of this one and this piece right here at the corner. Hope that's very visible. And make a cut. So you can see I barely cut anything off, but this is how the cut is going to happen. I'm going to turn this back around and stick it where it goes. And I'm going to repeat the process. And notice I have not ironed. I'm just doing this pre-iron because there's a lot of back and forth. So straight with this, comes over just a smidge, and it lands right here at this bottom, but not the bottom of the last piece. Just ever so slightly.
Who asks what you making?
I am making my newest pattern that was in my head, and I have to get it out. I'm going to turn it back around because I started on the one side. That's how it goes.
Well, it's your Halloween
It's
theme.
my Halloween themed pattern, and I've not ever done that for you guys in a video, so this is definitely different. And it's really going to be smashing.
Yes, I like that.
All right, and then turning it back around and sticking it back where it goes. All right, here we go again. We're going to move the camera. Here's our thing back exactly the way they went because I'm going in sets of 3. So there's no way you can get this completely turned around. We're now going to attach this, but you can see it's a lot bigger, a lot bigger. So now we're going to take these over to the sewing machine and sew them on, and then I'll grab these and we'll sew those on. But let's do these first. So let's go to the sewing machine. The camera is now moving. Just going to make it to where you can see right there. Here's our centers. Nothing's been pressed yet. Here's the sides. I'm going to take this, put it over on this side with the blocks on this side. And, oh, that was the bottom. That was the middle. And that was the top because I pulled the bottom first. I just totally messed myself up because I was trying to put them back where they go. This was, that's not the bottom. Bottom gets white. And then the middle gets orange. Oops, nope. I'm on this one right here. Top is white.
Jacqueline says the center looks like a spool of thread.
This is the second one, and the orange is the third one. Okay, I totally messed myself up. Don't do that, you guys. See, I told you, it gets a little confusing. Trust me, this is all in my head. All right, next one. We want this to where the 2-inch mark lines up at the bottom. So we're going to have a hangover at the top. So I'm actually going to line this up close to the bottom, close to, but it's going to hang down about 1/8 of an inch. So I'm going to take this where you can see. This time it's going to be 1/8 of an inch from the bottom. That's where this turn is going to come in. We're going to line this up just like this, and you're going to have quite the hangover at the top, but that's okay. I told you there's just a tiny bit of waste. I'm going to sew that through, and I'm going to repeat the process. So I'm going to, again, hang over quite a bit at the top, and I'm going to line this bottom up where there's about 1/8 of an inch sticking out from the bottom. Line up that whole side, and then run it through by chain piecing. Last piece, again, hangs over quite a bit on the top, but only 1/8 of an inch hanging over on the bottom. All right, and then we're gonna put it on through. All right, this is my bottom. So I'm gonna finger press this out, again, away. It's gonna go away from. This is my middle. It's gonna go away. And this is my top. And again, this doesn't have to be with Halloween theme, but it definitely is going to be nice. All right, so now I have this one and this one. I'm going to turn the whole thing around, and just remember that I turned them around. Grab this. I'm going to repeat that same step. Hangs over a bunch on the top, but only 1/8 of an inch hangover on the bottom.
Nancy said wonky cut.
Yes, very wonky.
That's your name.
Ah, yeah. So like smashing. But we'll see in the end what it completely looks like, because obviously I only made the sample blocks to get it out of my head so that I knew what I was doing was, you know, sort of cool and wasn't just a big mush of idea in my head. Right sides together. Again, the top has hangover, the bottom hangs over towards the underside, about 1/8 of an inch, just like that. Line it up and sew it through. And again, at this point, I have not at all pressed anything. It's just all finger. That way, at the very end, we can go to the iron. Everything should stay pretty flat with just a finger. So that was the bottom. I'm going to turn it back around because it goes that way. I'm pretty sure it probably doesn't actually matter because they are cut 1, 2 the whole time. And that way. Just like this. Now we're going to take this over and cut it. So again, the camera is going to move. And I'm going to cut over here on this side of the mat so that you can see. I guess I'm just going to turn them upside down. That'll work. That is my bottom. So to the side. And we're going to line the ruler up now with the top here. It should have reached the top here, but that's okay if it doesn't. I'm going to line it up with this piece. Just like that. So you can see I just cut off to make that equal. So I'm going to turn it around. I'm lining this piece right here with this side right here. And this one matched the top. They're not always going to, because again, we're doing about 1/8 of an inch. So we're going to stick that where it goes. I'm going to grab this one now.
Kay says she knows how you feel. When she gets something in her head, she has to do it or it'll drive her nuts.
Yeah. Turn it around, do this side. Just like this. I'm lining up my ruler with this middle piece. And it should hit that tip right there, which it is. Some of them do, some of them don't. Don't freak out if it doesn't. So that is done. This is my top up here. So we're going to put that back right there. My last and final piece. Again, I'm lining up this middle piece with the edge of my ruler right there. And see, it doesn't fully hit the tippy top, but some of them do, some of them don't. My about 1/8 of an inch isn't always exact. And that was my top. And I'm going to put it back right there. So now, camera's moving, camera's adjusting. Now it's time to attach these guys right here, because we've already went around the whole thing one time. So now we're going to make sure that they're complete opposites. And the third one would be white, and it is. Okay. Now we're going to go to the machine and do the exact same procedure. We're going to hook this guy on. Again, the smaller edge is going to stick out, and the bottom edge is going to be about 1/8 of an inch from the bottom. And then we're going to turn it and do this one about 1/8 of an inch from the bottom on this side, and your top will always stick out. The little 1-inch side is always going to stick out. So let's take these over to the sewing machine and start attaching those. So we're going to come over here. Camera's moving. Just leave you right here. Put this on this side, this on this side. I'm going to lay this on here. My smaller end's going to stick out. My bottom is about 1/8 of an inch. And we're just going to sew on down. We're going to grab that second one. And we're just going to continue making these over and over and over again in sets of 3. So we'll do the next 3 and then the next 3 until we have 63 blocks. And I probably did my math horrible too, and it's not going to, in sets of 3. All right, there's that. So I'm going to, oops, I just sewed that whole thing without bobbin. Must put the bobbin. I'm not using full bobbins. I'm trying to use up all my half bobbins of black because I didn't want to roll brand new ones. So I didn't get very far. All right, so let's sew that seam all over again. Looks like it landed on that one perfectly. Still sticking out where I want it. All right, there, now it's sewn. All right, we're gonna finger press that away.
Will you post this later?
It's gonna be on for replay.
Yeah, it'll be on the replay, right?
And then this one is the middle. Yes, it'll be on the replay. And this one is the top. Just finger pressed back for now. So this is how it would have looked. We're going to grab that top piece right here, and we're going to sew those on. So again, sticks out about 1/8 of an inch at the bottom, away, and then right here at the top, it sticks out quite a bit. Grab that next one. Just like this. Yes, replays of all these videos are always available. The only thing I may change is the title of the video. And however many videos it takes to make this project, I will have them in the description below with a link to the next video in the next video. But I can't change any of that till after the fact. So here's my bottom piece. Just finger pressing it out. I'm going to go ahead and just throw that back where it goes. And then this one, because they're getting too big to sit up here, finger press it. Put it back where it goes. And then the last one, which is the top one. And we're going to put that back where it goes. And then I'm going to move the camera and we're going to trim.
You want water, juice?
I have water. Thank you. Oops. And if I hit the stand, I'm sorry, guys. My tripod in my little area back here does not fit perfectly. All right. I'm going to turn these upside down momentarily so that I can do my trimming. Again, I'm lining my ruler up now with this straight edge, making that cut. Turn the whole thing around. straight edge, make that cut. So, I mean, there's a little bit of waste, but bottom. Let's do my middle. There's a little bit of waste, but I mean, it's not horrible. You guys know I usually use every last bit of fabric, but this one, it was highly impossible to avoid waste. So put that back there. Oops, right there. And now for this last one, lining it up with this straight edge right here. I'll line it up this straight edge right here. And there is my top. And I think that was this way. I guess it doesn't really matter because it's exactly the same no matter which way you lay it. All right. Now, camera's moving. Last step is to attach these two sides. Just like that. So again, we're going to do that same procedure. And you can see now there's even more waste that's going to come from the top. You know? But unfortunately, like I said, can't control that, but I did cut all these bits away on my last ones and saved the little 1-inch squares because some of these are 1 inch when they're done. And I just put them in my 1-inch square bin. So I honestly don't have much waste. I'll separate that when I'm done making the whole project. But we're going to take this set over now and we're going to put these at the sewing machine. And we're going to sew these guys on. So the camera's moving. Back to the sewing machine. I'm going to put that on this side, this right here. Again, it's going to go just like this on this side, so we're going to make it stick out about 1/8 of an inch on the bottom. And then 1/4 inch seam. Grab that next one. About 1/8 of an inch from the bottom, line it up, line everything up. I have not pressed anything, but I am going to have Mr. Scott get an iron turned on. Yeah, you can iron.
Oh, okay.
I just need an iron on so that these can be ironed. And then we're going to line this last one up again, about 1/8 of an inch from the bottom, but it's definitely sticking out a lot on the top. But I will use all that. So there's my bottom piece. I'm just going to finger press this out. Just like that. I'm going to just move it out of the way for now because they are getting kind of big for my extension table. So there's the number 2 piece. And here is the third one. So we're going to just put these right here, turn the whole thing around, grab the other pieces, and now remember the 2-inch always goes on the bottom. So the 2-inch wide cut goes on the bottom, the 1-inch wide goes on the top. Excuse me. The weather change has given me a cough lately, guys. So, and it's very prevalent at night and in the morning. You can make this with any fabrics. It does not have to be Halloween. All right, here we go. I am going to grab my first piece. I'm just going to set those aside. Grab my matching last piece. Again, the 2 inches on the bottom. The 1-inch side is always on the top. We're going to put this right sides together. Later. Yes. And then we're going to put this right here. And I'm just going to start sewing from the end. I really don't have to, but I do.
She says so the 1/8 inch sticks out from the fat side of the piece.
Yeah, so this is how it would have been cut off like this. I'm just sticking it down about 1/8 of an inch right here at the bottom. Not fully 1/4 because it's not a 45-degree angle, so it doesn't have to get tipped down that far. If you would put it equal, though, it would be up this way when it's done. So you would have 1/8 of an inch. We want it to go down because we want if we're not cutting something off, then we did something wrong, because it won't turn, and when we trim the whole entire block, it won't be completely straight. So we're looking for a completely straight block when we're done. All right, so I'm gonna line this up. Just gonna sew through. So that's why I'm just barely putting them down. Always on the bottom side. The top side always has a lot sticking out. So we're gonna just line it up ever so slightly. It's not a lot, just enough to keep this block as square as we can get. Just like that. So here is one. So all we have to do now is trim this up into a square, which I have to grab a square ruler because I didn't grab any down.
Which one do you want? The actual square?
Oh, no, I need the bigger one. The Omni Grip, yeah, that one. All right, so now the blocks are done. Camera is going to move. Camera is moving, and we're going to temporarily now move this out of the way. Put it right here. And we're going to get ready now. My Fiskars ruler lost all of its markings, so now I'm using a different one. My Omni Grip. Before I trim these, I'm going to have Scott press them. So this last step, press the whole block before we trim it completely with a square ruler. So as soon as that iron is, it is heated. Okay.
It's ready. I'm waiting on you.
And I also, while I'm here, want to thank Brenda Hughes for a lovely Hamilton, Missouri postcard. She went to Hamilton for her first time. I won't turn the card around, but she went to Hamilton for her first time and wrote me a little card that says, "Guess where I am at? Her and her daughter's first MSQC retreat. She heard I liked postcards and thanks me for my videos." So thank you, Brenda. That's going to go on my postcard wall. I'm just waiting for these blocks to be flat, guys.
Yeah. Buy a fat hog right in the middle there. Just kind of funny Halloween themed. Buy a fat
Buy
hog.
a fat hog right there.
You know, Halloween.
All right, here's my first pressed block. They should trim at 7 3/4. I know that's a weird size for a block, but if you can get yours more than that, be my guest. Like this one looks like it might be, I might be able to get 8 inches from these guys. No, I cannot. Can I? Let's see. We're going to see right now. 8, 8, 8. Right there. Right there. Ooh, I might be able to get 8 inches. My last ones were 7 3/4. So let's trim it at 8 and see how it goes, because it might be able to stay at 8. But if you can't get 8, trim at 7 3/4. Again, this was just my brainchild here. So you never know what it's actually going to be.
Yeah. Kathleen wants to know if you cut fabric in your sleep. She says, I imagine you're dreaming these ideas.
Yeah.
Just wake up with a complete picture of what to do. Working out the details all in your sleep.
Yep, pretty much. I actually write it down as best as I can. Like everything in my head, I write it on a piece of paper next to my bed. And then I bring it in here in the morning usually and test out whatever I come up with at night. All right, so it did come out at 8 inches. If this is the only one that does, then I'll trim everything else down to 7 3/4. But let's see if the rest come out at 8 inches. Like I said, my last ones were 7 3/4. So there's one block. Let's see if this one comes out at 8 inches. 8, 8, 8. Oh, 8. Nope, this one's not going to be 8 inches.
Well, if they all come out at least 7 3/4, at least they're matching.
That's not going to work. Yeah, this is going to be. Yep, we're going to do 7 3/4 because this one is not 8 inches. Nope, nope, and nope. All right, we're going to just take it down to 7 3/4. So I'm going to line my ruler up and I'm going to recut the other one too. right here. So I have a little bit to cut off top and bottom. I know it's a very weird number for blocks, but we're just going to do it anyway. All right, so now I'm going to line up my 7 3/4, 7 3/4. The cool part about the Omni Grip ruler, even though I'm used to my Fiskars, is it actually squares off at the bottom with a green highlight on all the 1/4 inch marks. So makes it easier. All right. And some of these are going to get trimmed, oops, more than others, but that's okay because it's the wonky parts that we're looking for. We're looking for the wonkiness of the block. So I'm going to retrim this one. I just need to trim a tad off of it to be 7 3/4. So we're going to just retrim this guy. And if my arm is in front of the camera, I'm sorry. I have no other way. When I record videos, I usually do it at kind of different angle, but all right, 7 3/4, 7 3/4. There we go. We're just going to go ahead and trim all to 7 3/4, every block, because that means I have plenty of extra space. So I'm just going to line it up, making sure that I can see the 7 3/4 mark on the pre-cut. So I'm cutting off about the same on all 4 sides. Makes it equal. Just like that. Turn the whole thing. Line up 7 3/4. Right here, right there. Just like that. And that side don't even need to be cut. I hate that. My blade is already going dull. All right, so there it is. 3 start blocks. Just like this. And the cool part about this, when we go to put it together, there's going to be no seams to nest because when we start putting the actual quilt together, we're going to be turning them like this. So it'll be no seams matching, no seams matching, and then the next ones will be opposite. So it'll turn. So it'll look like it's kind of spinning.
Gwen said she enjoyed yesterday with Allie.
Awesome. All right, so I'm going to move these blocks out now, and we're going to bring our board back up here and cut another set of 3. So here we go. Grab 2 for from your layer cake and 1 from the ones that you cut yourselves. Grab that. Those are behind me. It's going to be weird with those. I was hoping, maybe they'd land in the center, but this one's definitely not going to. But that's okay. All right. I'm going to lay it on here beautifully. We're going to do the same thing. So for those that are just now joining, you'll get to see how these are cut. All right. So I'm going to bring you over just a little. There we go. Center you so that you can see just like this. And we're going to grab a ruler that's long enough from one side to the other, facing us. 1 inch mark goes in the corner down here on the bottom towards you, and your 2 inch line shall go up at the top. So the whole entire thing is based on 1 inch and 2 inch. So hold that ruler in place. We're gonna, we'll just use this one because I'm trying to I'll just dull one. Yep. And separate that. We're gonna turn the whole entire thing around. So if you have a rotating mat, use that. I don't know how big, you can probably get a really big rotating mat. We're gonna line up the 2 inch at the top, 1 inch at the bottom. Just like this. Make a cut. Separate it. Just like that. Turn it only 1 time. 2 at the top, 1 at the bottom. So I'm literally lining my 1 inch line at that corner. And this is because my mat is funky. I got to be careful. 2 inches at the top. And if you need to separate those because you think they're going to be in your way, separate them a little bit more. Then I'm going to turn the whole thing all the way around. Repeat. 2 inch at the top, 1 inch at the bottom. Those lines right there and there. Just like this. Separate that. Turn it back straight like this from my original start. I'm going to do this again. And you'll know if you're cutting the wrong ones because see how my last cut up here is a 1 inch right here in the corner and then the 2 inches on this side? You'll know that this is not supposed to be 1 inch because you never touch a 1 inch side to a 1 inch side. Does that make any sense? You're always putting your 2 inch next to your 1. 1 always goes next to 2. So that way you don't get confused. So 2 will be up here closest to the 1. My 1 will be down here next to the 2. So it's always closest to me from 1 to 2. Move that out of the way. Turn the whole thing all the way around. Cut the opposite side. 1 inch at the bottom, 2 inches on the top. Just like that. Separate it out of the way. And only turn 1 turn this way. 1 inch at the bottom, 2 inch at the top. Creates this wonderful spin that we're getting. It's really hard to do this because this mat is so wonky. Separate that away. Turn it all the way around. 2 at the top, 1 at the bottom. And this mat is not making it any easier on me. Like I said, if it doesn't come out perfect, it's okay because no matter what, it's wonky. All right. So again, for
Kim
those,
and Deborah both like this block.
if you think you got out of order or didn't turn it right, just slide them all back in like this and go, oh, here's my square block again. So that's how they went together in the first place. So you went from 1 to 2, turn the whole thing around, 1 to 2. Turn 1 turn, 1 to 2, turn all the way around, 1 to 2. Then you start again facing you, 1 to 2, 1 to 2. Then you turn the whole thing 1 time, 1 to 2, turn it again, 1 to 2, and then you have that center. So the only thing you need to do is put this top one on the bottom, then the second one, bring the bottom one to the top. And that's the only ones you need to move. Because the whole thing is being done in sets of 3.
Emily wants to know how big is the finished quilt?
You know, I wrote that down. I don't know where I wrote it down. I wrote it down. I did it off that 7 3/4. It was going to be, oh my goodness, like going, if someone wants to do it real quick, it's going to be 7 across by 9 down at 7 3/4 each piece. That would be, what's 7 times 7? 49.
49.
So it'd be like 48, 47 by, what's 7 and times 9? So it'd be 49 by 63, plus the 5-inch border from our leftover of our 3 yards of fabric. So it'll be like 70, be like 59 by 79, somewhere around there. I don't remember where I wrote it down. Did I write it down in the room maybe? I don't know. I'm not going to go get it. It's going to be lap size. Just put it that way. All right. So we're going to take this over to the machine and we're going to start with attaching these guys. So we're just going to chain piece all 3 of these on and then we're going to add this guy. Once those are on, we're going to trim, add these. Once those are on, trim, add these right here. And then once those were trim and then add those and then we'll press the block and do the final piece. So I'm just going to now go over to the machine and sew these. So we're just going to hang out at the machine because I'm just going to chain piece these through now since I've showed you the one time and I'll kind of like walk you through it. All right, camera is moving. I usually don't have to say this when I'm filming. I just pause and put it in the position it needs to be in. All right, so here was my center. Here's the bottom. We're going to turn them to the side and add these. Remember, to get that spin, I'm always making sure that this one is sticking up just a little bit on the top. For my first piece only is sticking up on the top. and the bottom is not aligned. It's just my first piece that does that. My first piece, the 2-inch goes up instead of down. Everything else, it goes down. So just this first piece only. So I'm just lining it up. The first one goes up towards the 1-inch side, just barely. Okay, so I'm going to trim these. So you can see it's not quite even, but we're going to create just a tad bit more of a turn by trimming this. That's my bottom. This is my middle. This is my top. Just like that. So I would put this back where it goes, just like this, and grab these guys. I'm just going to go right here and not have to put anything back. So it was like that. I'm going to attach it just slightly upwards. That's the only piece that does that. And this guy. And the last one. That's just barely sticking up just a smidge. Finger press it. So this was the top, so that goes like that. That was the top of the piece that I just attached. And then we're going to take them over and trim them. And I'll give you one more review, and then everything else I'm just going to start cutting and sewing. All right, so we're going to take cameras moving over to here. So you can see this was my, we're going to turn this upside down just because it's easier. My bottom piece first. And I'm going to line it up where the top of the ruler is hitting the top of this piece and the bottom of this ruler is hitting this corner right here where my seam came together. So I'm essentially lining up just that top piece, just like that. And I'm barely trimming it, creating just ever so slightly more of a spin. So again, I'm lining up here, putting the ruler right here at this tip, cutting that away. So that was my bottom piece. And I'm doing this all from finger pressing. I'm not going to bother ironing until the very last step because I don't see the purpose of it. That's too much up and down, but you can if you want to. Put that back, and now this guy. Hey, my rats are all going in the same direction. Oh, that's funny. So I'm just lining up the bottom corner from the top, just like that. So I'm barely cutting off a sliver. All right, so I'm going to put that there. We're going to go back over to the sewing machine, and the camera is moving. We're going to attach this on and this on. And from here on out, now the piece goes lower instead of higher. Okay, that first one just gives us that extra curve on our centerpiece. So camera is moving to the sewing machine. Did you have a phone call?
No.
Oh. Oh. All right, here we go. Grabbing those two pieces. We're going to just put that on the side. This right here. You always know you have it correct if those fabrics are the same. All right, so I'm going to come the 2-inch side now. From now on is going to go 1/8 of an inch lower. So sticking it down about 1/8 of an inch. Line it up. This is like free piecing, guys. There's really no specific rule that says you have to or don't have to. You just want a square block in the end. So
Tracy Cook says hello. She's a new follower. She says she's loving this tutorial. It's exactly what I'm looking for in my bed.
Awesome. Well, welcome and welcome to my channel, and I hope that you can follow this. I feel sometimes like live streams isn't as good as my actual videos because in the live stream, I repeat myself 500 bazillion times, but in a tutorial, I'm able to just get to the point right then and there, you know, and there's no talking in between or anything.
Just shattered hocus pocus.
Shattered hocus pocus. We're just going to come up with a bunch of stuff and we'll figure it out. It will have a name. All right, so this is my bottom. Just going to finger press it back. And if you don't want to use your fingernail, you can always use your wood pressing tool. I know after a while, especially with my fingernail, I do get a sensitive finger from rubbing on fabric because of my MS and my nerves. It just sends the wrong signal. But these are like, they're not as bad, like few far in between. You know, it's not like crazy finger pressing, like super long seams. All right, so this is the way I would put it back. I'm going to grab, and this pressing tool came from Quilt, and it's a set. So you buy your seam ripper and stiletto combo and your wood presser. I just call it the finger presser. There's probably a whatever name for it, but I don't know it. But I get these from Quilts at www.tquilts.com. I love my set here. I love my seam ripper because it's like super sharp and pointy and amazing. All right, so we're going to turn this all the way around. Grabbing this first one. Oops, let's put these on this side so it's not as bulky on this side. Again, now that 2-inch side is always on the down, not up.
Tracy's new to quilting, but you make it look easy.
It is easy. You just got to get the hang of things, especially like in the beginning. I started with regular scissors when I first started. Didn't know that there was rotary cutters, and when I got a rotary cutter, I was definitely chopping everything from I didn't have an actual ruler at the time. I had a wooden yardstick, and I chopped that thing up so bad that I splintered my fingers trying to line it up. I cut my fingers a bazillion times.
Yes, she did.
It was some crazy stuff. So getting used to the rotary cutter, that is the 100% main thing to focus on. Everything else is easy peasy. That rotary cutter, though, when you're a beginner and don't know what you're doing, you like wobble and wiggle your wrists too much. And now I cut freely with ease. I don't have any problem cutting now. But in the beginning, oh my goodness. It was like a horror show happening. Okay. So just because I know that my fabric was directional, I know that this is right side up. So I'm going to just throw these back in their spot, although we are going to trim them. But temporarily, they're going to go back in their spot. Look at all of my mice, or rats, I should say. I got a witch's head right here. All right, camera is going to turn. Camera is moving. There we go. We're going to come over here, and I'm going to flip these upside down and trim these off. This time we're lining our edge of our ruler up with the edge of that center piece. So we just attached these two. Here's that center piece. The ruler lines up with that, just like this. It should hit the point up here, but it doesn't always. It's not foolproof. Nothing I ever do is foolproof, but sometimes it's good. Like right now, see? It's at the point. It's like perfect. And then sometimes it's not. So here was my bottom piece. And I'm going to go to this one. Lining up that center. Lining up the center. Wow, that one was way off, but that's okay. See, that's the whole purpose of this. So it doesn't really matter as long as we end up with a nice square block in the end. All right, and last one. I'm just gonna stick this back where it goes. So now camera's moving. We're gonna start attaching these two pieces. Again, the 2-inch side is always gonna stick a little bit below when we attach it here. So the 2-inch side will always stick a little bit further that way, about 1/8 of an inch. It's not foolproof, but at least 1/8 of an inch. You don't do a quarter because then it'll bring it down too far. And then the block, this part, when you start attaching them, those will get more wonky and you'll have like a crooked block, and it'll be harder to straighten it, and you'll be cutting it down to an even smaller size. So we're going to take these over the machine now and sew them on. So camera is moving again. Excuse me. Okay, so we're going to go like this. This on this side. Excuse me. Telling you guys, the weather change really affects me. It's like a pressure drop or something. I don't know. Whatever it is. It gives me a morning cough. All right, so I'm just going to slightly down on this bottom and then sew it on. And
Christine says you should call it Hubble Bubble Slice and Shuffle.
That's a long name for a pattern.
Well, it's a double toil and trouble.
Yeah.
You know? Are you talking about numbers? Numbers out there? 54 times 69.
Oh, that was when I asked the 7 3/4 times 7 across by 9 down.
Well, 54.
And that's without orders.
By 69.75.
And then that's also without the seam allowance taking. So you got to take an 1 inch,
Well,
2.5 inches comes off. It's wrote down. Just don't remember where I put it down. All right. So those are now on. Just going to finger press them out of the way. It was going to go like this. I'm just going to stick that back where it goes. And I'm just going to bring them back up over here again. But for now, oh, little crooked house is going to land right here. That's kind of cool. I guess it's okay to open up some of these bigger print fabrics. So here they are that I just did. We're going to grab that next piece, and that's the top part. We're going to turn it and move these out of the way because it fits better in the throat space. Put this down here at the bottom, making sure it hangs over a little bit. Oops. Making sure it hangs over a little bit. Come on, get it down there. Oh, that's way too much, Tiffany. Right there.
Madam says she's loving your creation.
Thank you. I worked not so hard on this. It just sits in my brain and disrupts my falling asleep. That's the only problem I have. Until I make it, then it stops bothering me. That's the weirdest part. Like until I create it, and then all of a sudden it's out of my head. So after I'm finished with this, I won't have to think about it no more. All right, that's gonna go like that. And last one. And then we're gonna take these over now and trim them. So camera is moving. Trying to find like that perfect angle where I don't really have to move you guys too far. Take all 3 pieces. I'm gonna turn them upside down. I'm gonna line this straight middle one up with the ruler. So right here, just like that. Trim it off. Turn it. Trim it off. Put it back. And I know that this is correct because my rats are going in the correct direction.
Mises, you're cutting your Mises to pieces.
Cutting my Mises to pieces, yes.
Old cartoon, I'll get you Mises. The Jinxie cat and Mickey Mouse.
Yep. And last one. Lining that middle up just like that and put them back. So now camera's moving. We're attaching these 2 pieces. And then after these are attached, we go to the iron and then press everything before we trim the whole entire block into a square. So camera is moving over to the sewing machine. So I'm just going to pick them up and sew them through because there's like not much space. So we're going to go with the first one.
Am I going to get the iron then?
Yeah, you can turn it back on again.
I will plug her on in.
Because it's going to be just a minute and it'll be ready to iron. So I'm going to line it up. I have a lot of hangover on that top. So at this point, you can do one block at a time, stop this, put that next piece on, or you can just continue with the chain piecing, which I'm doing, Put this one on now.
Well, Shelly's here. She's a first-time watcher. Napa
Oh,
Valley, California.
welcome. You're not far. You're right next to where my mom used to live in Hesperia.
We have family in Napa Valley.
Yeah, and we have family in Apple Valley.
She's so intrigued by the block. Watching the 2 screens on the desktop, the beginning and the live. She absolutely loves a chain piecer. She says, that's my kind of piecing.
Yeah, well, if I could chain piece all of them, I would, but since they're being cut in sets of 3, so because of the way that I'm putting these together, that's the only little issue that I'm, haven't gotten. But you can pre-cut everything if you wanted to, and then just start sending them all through. All right, so let's press this. I absolutely love that the rats are going the same direction. Press this. And press this. Just like that. And now I'm going to, here was the way they were. We're going to turn them around. Grabbing this piece, it was like this. Turning it around. And I have to move them out of my way to do this. Just going to line it up again about 1/8 of an inch from the bottom. Sticking down towards me, I should say. Grab it as the next one. Line it up. Oh man, I'm gonna lose that old man's head. That would have been funny to be in the block.
Everyone wants to know the name of the quilt.
There is no name yet. We're still trying to figure it out. I'm taking suggestions. When you guys see the whole thing put together, you'll probably have more. All right, so now it's Scott's turn to...
Me and Squeak get the word.
Him and Squeak can press these blocks nice and flat for our final trim.
You haven't let Squeak have any love in a while. Finally, he gets some loving.
All right, so those are going over. I'm going to turn the camera for the final trim. We're going to move my pretend rotating mat, my June Taylor cutting mat. Camera is now moving. I'm going to go right here.
One says wickedly wonky.
Wickedly wonky.
I kind of like that. Wickedly wonky.
All right, so I'm using this ruler to trim it because, again, my Fiskars is missing lots of markings. This one is not. This one's more newer. My 8.5 inch on the grip. It's more newer.
What's the other one that you're talking about that's missing its marking?
Oh, the Fiskars. You guys want to see what a Fiskars looks like after you use it too much?
So I can. Oh, okay.
This is what happens when you
use
use your Fiskars too much. This is what happens. But then it also happens on other rulers I've seen. So it just starts missing a lot of lines.
Where do I get that? Is that at Walmart?
Yeah, we get these at Walmart.
Okay. And Mary wants to know if you cut up a whole layer cake.
Yeah, we're using a whole layer cake and then 21 extra pieces. All right, so we're just going for our magic number of 7 3/4. So I'm just going to line this up on here. I'm going to recognize my 7 3/4 first so that I can see I'm cutting like an equal amount off of both sides. Just like this. Oops, let's grab this one because I'm trying to dull the blade this one faster. If my arm is in front of the camera, I'm sorry. All right, there's that. turn the whole thing around. Line up the 7 3/4 now. I love it on this ruler because it's exact like that. And there we have one block. And it goes however direction you want it to go because that's what we're making here. Again, I'm going to do that same exact thing. Find my 7 3/4. I'm gonna make sure it's like equal between both sides. There's no like I said, there's no specific to it. Just cut and make it right. Turn, line it up. Lines up perfectly. And my ruler is definitely, or my blade is definitely going dull. As you can see, I'm like skipping stitches. That's what I get for using that June Taylor mat. All right, cut this last one. Where's my 7 3/4 mark? I just want to make sure I'm cutting an equal amount on both sides.
You need a new cutting mat too, don't you?
Yeah, I need a new cutting mat, yes.
Gracious.
Yep. Okay, lining this up again, 7 3/4. 7 3/4. I kind of tiny bit shy up there in that corner, but is within my seam allowance, so that's okay. It's right here at the top. All right, there's that one. So I'm gonna, just because we're on video, I'm gonna lay out all 6 that we've made now, and then we're gonna continue on. So there's gonna be no seam matching through this whole entire thing. So they're all gonna be laid out where they're like this, and like this, and like this, so that no seams. And that one like that, and it doesn't matter. I'm going to be moving them all around. Let's put that there for now.
Oh, Linda's leaving on Wednesday to go to a quilt show in Houston.
Ooh, to the Houston show. Mm-hmm. So here's the general idea so far of what we're making. Move these down a little bit. So, and they're just going to look like they're turning the whole way. Spinning pumpkins. That one's a good one. I'm
like
thinking of it.
When
I
look
shattered.
at it, I think of the shattered mirror.
I think shattered, yeah, when I look at it too.
You could do shattered pumpkins.
All right, so we're just gonna continue on. I'm gonna make one more set, but this time I'm just going to do my piece of how
Half inch is confused. She says, "What do you mean no seam matching?"
Oh, okay. So this block is a straight seam, and when we go to put this quilt together, even though my fabric has directional in it, here's the 2 seams right here on this edge. Flip it, and you'll have no seam matching. So when we put the whole entire quilt together, the only seams that we will be matching, let me just lay these out one more time so that you can see right here. The only seams that we'll have to match are the seams when we put our rows together. So instead of putting them side to side like this, straight sides, and then having every single one of these with seams next to each other, whether they land on top of each other or not, there's going to be no nesting. Everything is going to be turning so that it looks like
I see what you
it
mean.
spins like this.
Yeah.
So it'll be a straight seam on the 2 ends with seams coming out.
It makes it look like everything's
odd,
but yet it'll
still spin.
Yeah.
That's what I see in my head. So
she says, "Oh, I got it. Thanks."
Yeah, definitely.
They're all talking about food to make me hungry. That's what I mean.
Oh, that's fine. All right, so I'm going to make this next 3 at my pace, and then the rest of everything I will put together off camera. And I don't know how many days it will take me. I'll probably come on tomorrow, of course, and do.
Oh, we about done for now?
Yeah.
It is noon. You should eat too.
Yeah. Let's do some kitty cats in this one.
I shouldn't be the only one eating. You should eat too.
I will be eating. That's why I'm going to put 3 together at my speed, and then everything else I'm going to do off the camera. So we're just putting them together in sets of 3. So I'm going to line these nicely up so that everything matches. It doesn't have to be 100% perfect because the block gets trimmed as we go. I'm going to grab one of my 21 pieces that I had cut from my 3 yards of fabric. And we're going to line those up on my not so rotating mat. I make do with what I have, guys. That's how I've always been. All right, here we go. 1 to 2, 1 to 2, 1 to 2. That's how it's going to go. So I'm just going to do it my speed, and I'm not even going to explain anything. That way you can see when nobody's, telling you. Just once you know it, it just goes easier.
Mary says her pace, aka flying.
I'm not flying here. Oops, that one went flying though. That's funny. It's this mat though, because it's so bowed. I should have took out the other one, but the other one's cutting mat part side of the cutting mat thing has got chunks out of it. So that's why I just grabbed this one with the bowing. No matter which one I grab, they're both discombobulated. That's what this can be called. Discombobulated. So I'm, messing them all up.
Emily says, man, this is probably better. I just like my rotating mat.
Yeah. Plus, you can't separate the pieces depending on how big your rotating mat is. That whole separation part. You wouldn't have room to do it like that. I just need to heat this thing up and then I can get it to lay flat again. If I ever remember to do that. And the last one. All right. So I'm just going to take it over the machine and start sewing them without explaining anything. Okay? So I'm just going to leave them right there. Camera's moving now towards the sewing machine. And you can see my speed. All right, so I'm going to put the top one on the bottom. I'm going to put the next ones with the bottom one on the top. Don't forget to flip them before you sew them, because then the whole thing is...
Cattywampus. That's the hillbilly term for discombobulated.
Yep.
We use cattywampus a lot.
Yes. All right, here we go. My speed time. Just remember, your first one goes up, the rest of them go down. These cats got really cut off because they're a little bit on the bigger side. I'm hoping one lands in the middle. Notice I did all that and I didn't even press yet with my finger. Yep. I hear it out there.
Water me.
All right, I'm just going to trim. I'm just going to leave the camera where it is. That way I don't have to move you guys every step I take, but you pretty much got the picture of how I'm trimming them. Oh, and there is a kitty in the center. Top. This is the middle. next? Dropping things. You guys should see the mess I make when it's just me sewing and I'm not filming. Whew. I drop things, I throw things. It's the disaster in here. But I clean it all up in the end. Oops, get under there. So even though there's a lot of steps with the trimming and then the sewing and trimming and sewing and trimming and doing them 3 at a time like this, I mean, it's not really like it takes a very, very long time. Well, at least if you're me. But I mean, I think it seems like it's a really good pace type piecing. So it should go together pretty good, pretty quick. At least in a couple days. Because, I mean, I am making 63 blocks. I think it's going to be adorable. Middle. Notice I'm talking to myself while I do this. Bottom, middle, top. Bottom, middle, top.
Am I going to iron that one last time when you're done?
Yep.
Awesome.
And then we can get off of here so I could have lunch.
Well, you got 120 people on here.
Wow. There's a lot of you hanging out today.
Scared them away as soon as I said that.
All right, so now I'm just gonna grab these and my bottom, put them on, blah, blah, blah. Oops. I always try to remember to stick everything on this side so that way I have not a bunch of stuff to knock over because the extension table isn't as big as we think it is. I am sewing with thread, right? Okay, good. I don't know how much bobbin I put in there. I put in a not fully rolled bobbin. And I am sewing this whole project together with black thread. I would say Halloween quilts, anything that's made with Halloween fabrics, because most of it's black, you know. I would say use black thread. So if your seams, you know, are like pushed back like this, you actually won't see the thread.
Casubio asks, Tiffany, did you decorate your sewing machine? It's beautiful.
Yes, they're stickers from urbanelements.com. Urban Elements. I had to think about that one for a second. Yes, it's Urban Elements. All right, here's my next one. So here's a thing to remember. When you're cutting, the one is always closest to you. When you're sewing, the one is always at the bottom. The 2 is always closest to you. So cutting is 1 and sewing is always the 2.
Elements with an S or T?
Elements, Elements.
I know the real way of spelling it is with an S, but the site.
Oh, I think it's ET Elements with a Z, probably. fingers starting to get fingery numb.
Kat says this is so clever.
Here was an old who rode a broom. That's what you see on this one. What old rode the broom? All right, I'm off camera trimming real quick. And then when I get to the next piece, after I'm done adding those and passing it to Scott, I'll put the camera back. You guys can just stare at my machine for a moment.
We're talking about the machine's tattoos, so I guess it's okay.
Yeah.
Machine's the life of the show.
Yep, they have tons. They have flower ones. They have, I don't know, they have everything. They have a ton. Just know that. They have a ton of different things you can tattoo your machine with. And they're all cute too. But I have butterflies on both my machines because that's my favorite is butterflies. It's so weird walking around the camera.
Yeah.
During a live stream.
not
Normally I
used to
don't
it.
do that. It's usually only for filming. It's so weird. I'm trying not to. I'm actually doing good with not hitting the camera though. Even when I'm filming, I usually hit the tripod like 5 or 6 times the whole time I'm doing this. You guys get to get me actually not talking to nothing because when I'm recording a video, I don't have anybody to talk to. This way, I have all you guys to talk to.
Deborah asks if she can get Juki tattoos for her fat. I'm sure they're
You
tattoos
can.
go on any machine.
They could go on any machine. You can tattoo any one of your machines. Just go
I'm pretty
on.
sure they're kind of
Urban
one
Elements.
size fits all.
Yeah. They come on a thing and then you just put them wherever they fit. My brother doesn't have a lot of room on it, so it doesn't have a lot of stickers.
Carissa wants to know if you're going to have a written pattern on this.
No, it's always verbal visual. I unfortunately do not write my patterns because I'm lame. I know, guys, I should write the patterns because, you know, I have lots of you guys who would like it, but it's all verbal visual. If I was to add writing patterns to my list of things to do, I would never get anything done because I think I overwrite. Like my first couple patterns that I actually wrote and put on PDF for you guys, they were overly done. I wrote way too much. And I probably could have kept it a lot simpler. I'm not a pattern writer. I just create and then show you guys how I'm doing it with what numbers while I'm doing it.
You just go to the website, Deborah, and order it from there. It's Urban
Yeah.
Elements. You go to that site. I typed it in.
Give me that real quick. Give me 2 seconds, guys. I'll actually give you a link.
You can do that from here. I thought you couldn't do it from this one.
I can do it from here because I know how to write code.
Oh, you're going to actually write that.
Yep. Bam. Should be highlighted in blue, and if you click on it, it should take you to the website.
Oh, yep, it is with a Z. I knew it.
Last one. Now I don't have to worry about keeping anything in order because they are now all attached. I just need to pass them to Scott to iron, and then we'll trim these, and then I'll do one more overview. And then I can go eat. And maybe even nap, or try to, because there you go, they're ready for you to iron. Scott.
I'm ready for them.
All right, guys. Camera is moving. Camera is moving.
Each week we're fired up over here. We haven't got to work in a while. We're ready.
So, I mean, hold on. Let me tip the camera up so you can see. See that pile right there? That's the scraps from all this, but most of it is little skinny stuff. So I'm not really worried about that. It's these little guys that if it's not fully an inch though, I'm not going to save it. So like this one is not quite an inch, but if it is an inch, I'll save it because I save an inch.
Oh, explain your people school again.
So if you go to, let me type it in real
No,
quick.
explain it. She wants to know what it is.
It is a seam press, a wooden seam press. So you press to whatever side and then you use it like a pin. So it replaces your finger, honestly, for pressing that seam. So this is flat right here and it's curved for your hand to properly use. And it's sold as sets. So you get your seam ripper right here. You can see this one is a super sharp seam ripper. And then it also has, I don't even use the stiletto because I don't really have use for it. But this thing will hurt somebody. So don't let it fall on the floor sticking out like that because it almost landed on my foot once. And I was like, no, I'm just never going to use this, so I'll keep it in. But yeah, you can put both sides in just like that. And they don't come out. They're good. They're in there. And it's a wooden tool, and there's so many different colors and beautiful colors. So.
And that's at T-Quilts.
Hold on, we'll put that link in the.
Oh, the link isn't working, so maybe it's the thing.
It's gonna work right now.
The other link
No,
work for me,
nope. You guys are typing it in all wrong.
No, they clicked on your link. It's not working.
Oh, it should be.
Maybe it doesn't work from this thing, like we said.
That should work. I don't know why. We're gonna go back to you can go back to the video right now. It just opens the second one. We just press the back button. Give me 2 seconds, guys. It should go right to it.
That was the T-Quilts one. The one that didn't work was the other one. And this is super slow on the internet. This can take all day.
Yeah, it's taking me to T-Quilts. And it died.
I know. Why do you have to mess with this thing?
All right, guys.
Do it on your computer.
It's died.
I'm trying to work it.
All right, here we go. We're going to trim this down to 7 3/4. So I'm just going to line this up where I'm going to trim about the same on all 4 sides. And making sure that I still have fabric sticking out past that 7 3/4 inch marking. Oops. Right there.
No, we have no comments. So.
We have no comments at the moment. I can kind of look at the screen here and there. Because we're waiting for the tablet to come back on.
No, it's done. It's not.
Oh, there's the iPad is next to my bed, on the side of the bed.
It's dead for good. You killed it. It says it has no battery.
So I'm just going to trim all this away. There's my 7 3/4 inch block. Grab this next one. Doesn't matter which side you trim first, honestly. You could trim like this first, but it doesn't honestly matter. I'm just going to make sure.
What do I do?
Tap that. There you go. Tap it again. And just go my channel. 7 3/4, 7 3/4. Everything is nice and good. Sorry, my arm covers the camera. All right. Scott's got comments again. Takes a minute. We had to switch to an iPad. He just likes to type. That's why. Looks like I cut me.
Well, both devices are
Which
ancient
side?
and don't work.
It's this side. I was going to be like, I knew I cut one of those sides square. I turned the block a little too far. Yep. There's number 2. And...
Oh, your Urban Elements one didn't work because you forgot the dot after the www.
Oh.
Tell him that.
I forgot the dot after the www. That's why it didn't work, guys. Sorry.
For Urban Elements?
For Urban Elements.
The
It's www.urbanalements.com. I can retype it in if you give me the tablet, Scotty. All right, here we go. Lining at 7 3/4. Oops, stay right there. Don't move, Mr. Ruler. All right, so
Cindy says topsy-turvy.
that's a good one. All right, I'm going to grab all of my pieces that I've made so far, and we're going to lay them out on the table. I'm backing you up. Camera is moving right about here. That should get a good close of all of them. So we're going to put this guy there. We're going to mix and match them now. Just like this. I'm going to turn that one. I'm going to have my rats running that way. We're going to put this guy there. Let's move them up just a little bit further. Let's say we're going to put this guy there. Doesn't matter which way. I know some of my fabric is directional, but understand that I cannot control that right now. That way. Let's put those there. And that guy there. And this will just be, for example. And you see what's happening here? I think it's going to look so awesome. So all of my stuff, obviously my directional fabric is going to be spinning, but that's how it's going to be. And we're going to be going 7 across and 9 down. And if these were totally the same color, my original 3, you know, this is what would happen.
Kath, how many 10-inch blocks did you cut from the yardage? Sorry.
21. So we'll just pretend that these match, but they don't. Just pretending for now. It's the idea of the spinning block. So grab a layer cake, 42 10-inch squares, and then cut 20, grab 3 yards of fabric and cut 21 10-inch squares from that. So a layer cake of 42 pieces and then 3 yards of fabric. From your 3 yards, you're cutting 21 10-inch squares. Now you need 6 strips for that, 6 10-inch strips, but on your 6th strip, you're only cutting 1 10-inch square from that, which will leave you with the 10-inch strip and then obviously the rest of your yardage. This is going to go towards the border because we're going to be doing 5-inch borders on the whole entire thing. Everything is made in sets of 3, so stack up 3 of these, and then you're going to be cutting them. Remember, it's always 1 closest to you, 2 is always at the top. So line up your ruler with the 1 closest to you at the corner and the 2 at the corner towards the top. When you're sewing it, though, your 2 is always down at the bottom and your 1 is always at the top as you're sewing them on. So just refer back to the beginning of the video again. This is what we're going to be doing. I'm just going to continue on making these, grabbing out from my layer cake here. 2 of these from the layer cake and then 1 from my other pile, and just start sewing them together, or cutting them and then sewing them together in sets of 3 over and over and over. And this is what happens. So we're just going to be making this. So let me turn the camera real quick. Camera is moving. Camera is moving. You guys are going to say hi to Scott for a second. Say hi, Scott.
Hello.
Turn you guys around. All right, here we go.
Make all these ancient devices work.
Anyways, so that's that. Again, 1 layer cake, 42 pieces, and then 3 yards of a background fabric, which is your accent fabric / border, because I'm not going to add a second fabric because I don't have any more Halloween fabric. Like literally don't. This video will always be there for replay. I will try to come back on tomorrow, but I have a doctor's appointment tomorrow, so I don't know how I'm going to work my day fully, but I'll try to come back on tomorrow and work on some more, but we'll just chit chat until I have all of this together. And then the next part of the tutorial for this will be part 2 of me teaching you how to put this together, laying it out and moving your blocks around. 7 by 9 will be the layout. So it'll be 9 blocks down. Don't forget to turn them as you're laying them out. This can be done in any fabric this Halloween. I'm doing Halloween themed because I promised you guys I would do a Halloween themed quilt this year. So I'm actually doing it. The colors are being mixed up. So yes, they're mixed up as we're putting them together. Grab 3 different pieces of fabric with 1 accent per each through sets of 3. Other than that, I'm gonna get off here, guys, so that I can go eat and relax. Okay. These are all saved in here, so it would be awesome that I can go back and read all these names, and when I finally put it together, we'll come up with that final name. So thank you guys for all those suggestions. Thank you for hanging out with me and learning how to make a new block that is super fun and spinny, and I don't know, just I don't know. It's cool. It's like a web too, so it'd be like, you know, wonky webs. I don't know. It's something. It's crazy. It's just my crazy quilt. Anyway, I will see you guys all later. Don't forget to subscribe down this way, right? If you're new, and don't forget to like this video on your way in and out if you're watching this as a replay. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.
Bye.